Action.
Hey everyone, this is Arezoo with the Milestone team and Keller William, and I am here today with a very special guest, Jeff Miltenberger, a trusted local lender that I love working with. And today we are answering a big question: what's the real cost of waiting to buy a home in this market? So, Jeff, thank you for being here. Let's jump right in. If someone's thinking for waiting 6 months to buy, what kind of impact could that have on their monthly payment or long-term equity?
I love that question, Arezoo. First of all, thanks so much for having me on. I love working with you as well. I think you're an amazing realtor and always excited to work with you and your clients. And that question you pose about waiting to buy is one of the most common ones I'm seeing right now. I've got over 30 years of experience in this business, and this is a very interesting market, but I also see it as probably one of the best buying opportunities I've seen in my entire career. So I think there is a great opportunity out there right now, and I think there is a big cost of waiting. My history is my background is history. I'm a history major, and the reason I look at history is you find out what's happened in the past, and a lot of times the history repeats itself. And I feel like the economy is very, very common to do that as well. So I've got some great information I wanted to share with you today, Arezoo, with your clients and everybody out there. So let me share my screen real quick and kind of show you what I'm talking about. The first thing I want to show you is why you want to buy a house. A lot of people want to buy a house for a place to live. But in reality, buying a house is a place to build wealth for you and your family. And I'm talking about generational wealth. It's wealth that you grow today and then you pass on to your kids. It's just a powerful, powerful tool. And this is a study that's done every year. It's called the benefit of home ownership, renter versus homeowner net worth. And the most recent estimates for 2024 just got released, and it's showing that the average homeowner has 42 times greater net worth than the average renter. And this is all mainly built up through home ownership. So it just shows you the power of home ownership is you got to get started. The sooner you get started, the faster you start to build this wealth. Now, when we talk about history brings charts for me on the economy. This is a historic chart covering the 30-year fixed mortgage rate. Here's the blue line. This is the house price index over that period of time, and the green line. The gray lines here represent recessions that have happened in the economy going back to even before 1975. And the reason I like looking at this is history tends to repeat itself. And one of this historical things that do happen is recessions happen throughout the years. Typically, they come every 10 years. We've had a longer wait here for a recession that we're due for one coming up here. And I think we're going to see one here sooner than we think. I mean, a lot of people are talking about recessions and things like that. Why are recessions important? They're amazing for the housing market typically. And so let's look at the last recession, but going back here to 1980, we got, inflation was at all-time highs. The Feds had to raise rates to slow down the economy to bring inflation back down. And then what ends up happening? You go into recession, and then they drop rates to re-stimulate the economy. They slow down the economy, but then they need to get it going again. So they drop rates. Again, going into a recession, interest rates go up, and then they drop dramatically. Here's a going up into recession and then drop dramatically. Here we go. Going into recession, drop dramatically. I don't want to keep repeating myself because it's obviously what happens. Interest rates go up into recession and they drop significantly afterwards. And I feel like even in this most recent recession in 2020, which is the pandemic, interest rates were floating up, and then all of a sudden they've dropped dramatically lower. That's when we got into the twos. Now, I don't think we're going to get back into the twos or threes even, but I think we are going to drop dramatically from where the levels we're at right now, which is where the opportunity is right now. Now, a lot of people ask me, is real estate a good investment? I'm really worried about the housing bubble in 2008. I mean, this chart is amazing. It goes all the way back to 1942. We've had 75 winning years, 7 losing years, and 1 even year. Like, what kind of investment can you buy that just continues to grow like this? But here's the thing. Out of those 7 years, Arezoo, 5 of them are in 2008. And that's that 1 year, 2008, that everyone has on their mind, the big housing debacle. But I'm telling you, they've done so much work after that happened with the rules and regulations that I think it's impossible for that to happen again. And again, history repeats itself. Look at the historical returns on real estate. The only other two losing years was in 1990 and 1991. We only lost just less than 1% in 1990, and then a fractional loss in 1991. I mean, other than that, look at these amazing numbers if you owned a house. So again, it just shows you that real estate is a very solid investment. And if anyone wants to talk to me about this 5 years, about another debacle happening, I would love to talk about that because I have a ton of information that will dispute that that could ever happen again at this kind of a level for sure. Now, you asked me earlier, Arezoo, the cost of waiting, like what is someone waiting 6 months looks like? I kind of put together just an example of waiting. Let's wait for 2 years. Let's wait. Maybe rates stay higher for a little longer. What does that look like? So I'm looking at 2 years. So current market opportunity with 5% down, conventional loan. It's a $600,000 house that we buy today. We put $30,000 down, so our loan amount is $570,000 at that beautiful rate of 7%. You know how I love sevens. Not really. But my payment, it's pretty awful, $44.67. I get it. It's high. It stinks. But at the end of the day, if we wait 2 years to refinance, now our equity has jumped up to $650,000. I used about a 4% appreciation, which I think is a pretty fair, maybe a little high, maybe a little low, depending on the situation. But I think that's a good average number to use. So I think it's a pretty conservative number to use. So 650 value. Now our loan amount's lower because we paid some principal down, 565, but our rate drops to 5.5%, and our payment drops significantly, almost $600 a month here to $38.83. Now we have a more affordable payment, but look at that equity we got here, 650 versus 565. Now let's go back to the future market opportunity. The person that decided, I'm going to wait. I don't want to buy right now. I'm just going to wait until rates go. So the payment's more affordable. So now they're paying $650. We got $650 here. Now you're paying $650. Guess what? You're borrowing way more money. $617,500 versus $570. Still 5% down, just a boatload more money that you have to borrow and pay interest on. You still get the same great rate at 5.5%, but your payment's now $41.81. So let's look at this opportunity lost by waiting. You lose out on $55,000 in net equity. I took out the down payment up here of $30,000, but we're now worth $650 and we only owe $565. $55,000 in net equity. That person has $55,000 in created wealth. They're saving $298 a month in mortgage payments too. $38.83 versus $41.81. You had to borrow more money. You're going to be paying a higher payment. And quite frankly, look at the difference. It's really close to $300 a month difference. It's not that far off because you ended up waiting. So I'd rather have $38.83 every day of the week instead of $41.81. I don't know about you, Arezoo, but let's go with that.
Exactly.
But here's the big thing that a lot of people forget about is, what about potential overbidding? There are so many buyers. The most common conversation I have, remember, is I'm going to wait for lower rates. There's so many buyers that are going to jump in when rates hit 5.5%. It's going to be super competitive. So do you really get that house for $650,000?
No.
I don't think so. I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be possible. I mean, so now you're getting it for $660 or $670. You're overpaying for the house because it's a competitive situation. It may not happen, but I think there's a pretty good chance with a number of buyers that are sitting out there right now that really want to jump in, that it's going to be an issue. Also, probably my biggest fear is waiver of contingencies. When it gets super competitive, now buyers have to remove contingencies like inspection, appraisal, or waive financing. That adds a ton of stress, and it really ruins the entire process of home buying. So again, there's just a ton of opportunity lost just by waiting. And I think a lot of people don't see that or realize that, mainly because they're getting a lot of advice from, maybe their friends or their family or maybe coworkers. And, it's just, you got to talk to someone that knows real estate, has experienced real estate, and has been really involved in it to really get the advice you need. And so reaching out to us, Arezoo and myself, to get the advice you need to see where you qualify is going to be a huge advantage to you on these moving forward. So I think we covered what I wanted to talk about. What do you think about all that, Arezoo?
I think it was really great, Jeff. You covered everything well. I'm a visual person. Thank you for all these stat and number. So I have just one more question that if you have any tip for buyers who want to get in now but are nervous about affordability.
I love that question too. And it's out. My advice is always the same. My favorite tip is just get pre-approved and find out where you stand. And then strategize with somebody. You don't have to call me. I mean, I'd love you to call me and talk about the finances and stuff and what that looks like. But you just need to get pre-approved to know where you stand. And kind of what a pre-approval, a lot of people are worried about their credit. We only do a soft pull on credit, so there's no impact on your credit report. There's no cost to getting pre-approved or doing an application. You know, what should happen in a pre-approval consult is you learn about the different programs you qualify for, you find out what your payments are, you find out how much you can qualify for or afford, and then you kind of sit down and you strategize. Where do you want your payment? Well, how do we get you that payment? There are ways to take a regular payment and make it a lower payment. You know, we can buy down the rate. We can do a 2-1 buy down. There's a lot of different opportunities out there. So if you're not strategizing, or if you talk to someone and you're concerned about, oh, I just don't qualify or the payment's too high, there's ways to really strategize and look at things in a different way to maybe get a payment to where you feel comfortable in buying. So I really think you need to reach out to somebody you trust, get pre-approved, find out exactly where you stand, and then you'll know exactly what the next steps are.
So thank you so much, Jeff, for all of your time today. So guys, if you are thinking about buying, talk with a lender early and know your numbers. It might cost more to wait than you think. So reach out to either of us with question. Have a beautiful day.
Thanks so
Thank
much,
you.
Arezoo. I appreciate it. Have a great day.